Dear friends, dear colleagues, dear diplomats, it's our both honor and pleasure to receive Mr. Jerzy Buzek, Chairman of European Parliament in our university. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your coming. Because we are a little bit late, I would just say a few words and then pass the floor to Professor Mark Энтин for very brief introductory remarks, and then we give the floor to our distinguished guest so that you could ask him some questions. You can ask question either in English or in Russian. We have simultaneous translation in the hall, so please be ready. Now Mark Энтин would tell us something about our guest.
Dear friends, some of you are now experts in the European law, European politics, or European politics at large and economy. Some of you are not. And maybe you do not know what is the European Parliament now. The European Parliament, which is headed by our guest. So just a few introductory words, because of course you are here to listen to Mr. Jerzy Buzek. So the European Parliament, in accordance with Lisbon Treaty, becomes really a legislative body of the European Union. Now the impact of the European Union on European politics is of tremendous importance for the European Union, for other countries, and especially to the Russian Federation. And we expect very much that our parliamentary relationship and relationship between our civil societies will create a new atmosphere in the relationship. And then parliamentarians from the European Parliament, parliamentarians from the countries of the European Parliament will be involved in a new kind of relationship. This recent summit in Rostov-on-Don just launched a few days ago. It's an initiative, partnership for modernization. So what I would like to say to you is that European Parliament you used to know some years ago is not there now. It's an entirely new body with new expectations, with new powers, with new possibilities, and it's with the head of this wonderful institute of the European Union that you will have a meeting now.
Now I invite Mr. Jerzy Buzek to deliver his talk from the podium.
Good afternoon, all of you. Mr. Vice Rector, dear professors, dear audience, colleagues, students, I feel much better being at university and at other place because, as probably you know, I spent almost 3 decades lecturing and being a professor at the university, so it's my common place here at the university. Let me start, dear friends, from one remark which is connected with my home country. Today I'm representing the whole European Union, but of course every citizen of European Union is connected specifically with one EU member state. We have 27 member states. As you know very well, probably I am Polish and connected with Poland. And so let me say, for the very beginning, I would like to thank you for words of sympathy and condolences from Russian side to Polish people after the catastrophe nearby Smolensk and death of President Kaczynski and 96 other persons. You know, it's not easy, our European history. we had a lot of complicated issues and stress and wars. So it's very important that such as signals of mutual understanding and common approach to some issues is very important. And I also hope that this approach from Russian side will start something like reconciliation in our eastern part of continent. It's not an easy process. I will remind about that later. In whole continent we are doing such a process. Between Russians and Poles, it was also developed something like special group, Polish-Russian special group on difficult issues. And your rector, Mr. Torkunov, is a member of the group, tackling with very difficult issues. But it was a remark about bilateral relations, Polish-Russian bilateral relations, which I hope will be improving in the nearest future. But I would like to talk today about something more general and wider. There are relations between European Union and Russia. What is the most important in these relations? We are from the same continent. All of us, we are Europeans. And not everything is clear in these relations. And also, we are not cooperating in an excellent way. I'm quite sure it's also your approach. You also need, not only the European Union on my side, we need better approach and better cooperation. Well, let me start by reminding, looking back upon my life, I sometimes have to remind myself of the journey we in Central and Eastern Europe took to get where we are today, because we are in the European Union. As some of you may know, my true vocation was always with university, and you can ask what was my profession, or is my profession. I'm, as a matter of fact, engineer. I was not studying political sciences or law. The reason was very important, because I grew up in a system where art was censored, where history was falsified and politics had only one color. I chose science because even on those times, let's say 40 or 50 years ago in my country, the party, only one party, had to accept the iron discipline of mathematics. So it was easier to study on those times sciences and such a discipline like engineering, energy issue, mechanics. Dear friends, with the entrance of 10 new member states just 6 years ago to the European Union, and Romania and Bulgaria in 2007, we have reunited next part of our continent. First reunification was between Germany and France. 60, 50, 40 years ago. We can say ended by President Mitterrand and Chancellor Kohl staying together at the beginning of the 80s, last century, together in Verdun, very important place, staying together and saying about reconciliation and necessity of cooperation of both nations. And the process was very difficult and took few decades. Next reconciliation was partly or mainly between Germans and Poles. And it was also a very long process which started in the middle 60s last century. And, well, it's probably finished. We never know if reconciliation is completely finished or not. But today, the relations between Poles and Germans are, well, by my opinion, excellent, but probably we can improve a lot of things as well. And why I am talking about that? Because enlargement 2004 was just about reconciliation and about proposing integration and full cooperation in big part of our continent. Well, this work needs to be continued. Healing to the historic wounds of Europe should be a common undertaking of the European Union and its neighbors and partners, including Russia. So it's very important to talk about that. Today we live in a different Europe, one where the President of the European Parliament is from a country that not long ago would imprison me for speaking to you friendly. It would not matter, though, because I would probably not have been invited to speak at this institute anyway, let's say 30 or 40 years ago, also because it was not such an institute some years ago. So it's a great improvement in our relations. You have fantastic, very good institute in Moscow. We have come a long way. We have a new European treaty, a new commission, a new parliament. Lisbon Treaty could help Europe coordinate its policies. It is probably today achieved in Madrid, political agreement on future European External Action Service. Together, whole European Union will express their view on foreign policy. Not only bilateral embassies will be important, like it is just now, German, Russian, for example, French, Russian, Spanish, Russian, Polish, Russian in Moscow, but also our common embassy, and we have between us head of delegation today of European Union to the Russian Federation, and in future it will be, as a matter of fact, ambassador in few months, the most important ambassador of European Union. Well, ambassadors bilateral will be very important as well, but still we wish to have a common foreign policy is very important. It's everything about European Union. It's inside. We are reorganizing ourselves. We would like to prepare ourselves internally to be very strong externally. I think that is a good moment to reflect on our relationship and where the EU-Russia partnership is going in the future, because we reorganized ourselves in the European Union. As you know, we live in multipolar world, but it does not mean there are no common challenges we need to face together in bilateral way. Multipolar world, we understand, but we must solve some problems also bilaterally, Russia and the European Union. In this new century, I believe that we need a new form of global governance, new collective leadership, as your Foreign Minister Lavrov has put it. We must look beyond bilateral relations and alliances. Our Eastern Partnership from the side of the European Union and our Black Sea synergy policies, two policies developed by the European Union, are not designed to be anti-Russian at all. They are rather good neighborhood policies from the side of the European Union. And if you wish, we can also discuss it later. There are no exclusive sphere of influence any longer. The world is the sphere of influence of all responsible global powers. In this second decade of the 21st century, the relative power of Europe, or this so-called West, as we say very, very often, is already decreasing. We can say it about quite a new powers, and we say that with new powers, emerging economy, well, Russia is superpower for many, many years. But emerging economies like China, Brazil, India, they have also influence, big influence on the global policy and new responsibility. Quite new international relations in multipolar world. It's impossible for 2 or even 3 global powers to take responsibility for global governance. You know about G20. Well, it's a solution. G20, not 2 superpowers, not, of course, not 1 superpower. G20, responsible for the whole globe, our planet. Russia and the European Union have shown that they can work together. It's very important. Because even talking about multipolar world and global governance in multipolar world, we must also start from bilateral relations. If we would like to start such a governance, it is not enough 2 powers. But we must start from 2 powers. Let us start from Russia, European Union partnership. Well, there's a lot of things in front of us. Middle East Quartet, we are together, cooperating. We have United Nations, we cooperate as well. And we have some important issues to solve, like just Middle East, peace talks, or Iran. In United Nations, we cooperate very well. Piracy. I would give you an example on piracy. But talking once again about our bilateral relations, we can say, by far, we are your main trading partner, European Union. Over 50% of your trade turnover is just between Russia and European Union. And from point of view of investment as well, something like 75% on investment in Russia is together with the European Union. So we need to cooperate more, also with other partners around the world. This relationship would make us stronger and should not be seen as a threat, but rather as an opportunity. Let us see each other as true partners. It's not a threat to cooperate for you with the European Union and for European Union with Russia. It's a great opportunity. I believe the partnership and cooperation agreement between both sides will be something like foundation for a better, deeper cooperation in the future. Well, what we face today? We face, of course, economic insecurity, energy dependency, climate change issue, very, very important, terrorism, non-proliferation, so nuclear weapon problem, international crisis, very important problem as well. And of course, piracy problem. And we must do everything to bring on board such powers like China, superpowers like China or India. They are emerging economies, but very strong. We know very well about that. And they should feel like being stakeholders of the whole concept of global governance. Well, 2.5 years ago, I spent a few days in China, and I gave the same message to them about necessity of cooperation. It's very important. And I'm giving also you, just now, a small example, as I said a few minutes ago, about piracy. For the first time, Russian warships operated next to Chinese, American, European, and South Korean vessels. Very important. It's something like global governance. Why? Because these pirates are a threat to the 30,000 ships which sail through this passage in Gulf. ships which are bound for Europe and to Asia. We have a common interest to make sure international trade is not halted, as we have common interest in other issues. Well, let us say about more delicate issues. I hope that it will be also questions from your side to the European Union, because it could be a lot of delicate issues which we would like to ask the European Union about that. But let me go and to be very honest. Still there are such differences, and we should not be shy of discussing. The European Union will never accept any violation of territorial integrity. It is connected also with Russia. Never accept any violation of territorial integrity of any independent state, nor will we recognize the independence of Abkhazia and South Ossetia for the same reason. Thinking about territorial integrity of Georgia. Military aggression is not a valid option in the toolbox of 21st century foreign policy, nor is political use of energy deliveries. We're just about some problems with energy delivery through Belarus. I hope not to the European Union. It is just bilateral problem of Belarus and Russia. But on the other side, it could also influence our bilateral relations. So it is very difficult to talk about that, but we must be very honest. Otherwise, we will lose ourselves. We will lose ourselves in our discussion. We must understand. Mutual understanding is the most important. Your expectations, Russian expectations, and European Union expectations are very important. The new global governance has to be based on common standards, common principles, and universal rights. Why? Because all of us, we are Europeans, and we share the same history, the same heritage. If we expect our trade to be free, our financial market to be open, our goods and services to be sold without barriers, then we need to have a common approach. Compatibility of our systems is necessary. We must make sure that the rule of law is respected so that the business environment feels secure. We should probably create common economic space, Russia and European Union, for more than 600 million consumers. Benefit to us all. It's obvious. Well, but it's only possible with compatibility of our system, of course. For example, if the judiciary system is truly independent and transparent, and the problems of corruption are effectively tackled, because corruption could stop any progress, any prosperity. We know about that very well. This is the reason why the EU supports Russia's accession to the WTO. Is important because it means we are the same standards. We have the same approach to the trade. And partnership for modernization, great idea. EU-Russia Partnership and Cooperation Agreement, another very important. 9th round of negotiations was entered. Let me go step by step to the end. Like Europe, you need to invest in your infrastructure. And we have the same problems, maybe on a different level, but we also need to invest in infrastructure. It was probably in your country last upgraded in the 70s. So we need a lot of reforms in the European Union because we have a Euro crisis quite lately. I'm quite sure we can overcome it, but without transition, without changes, we cannot do that. You have to diversify your economy because it should not be grounded anymore on the gas and oil only. You need modernization in many other fields. This modernization has to be all-encompassing, so, and not be just an economic modernization. A truly modern state must guarantee its citizens the right to live up to their potentials. It has to guarantee education, healthcare, a free press, and this universal value which is human rights. Why? Why it is so important? Because without civil society, we could not be competitive in today's global economy, global world. We can say very freely and openly, civil society, and everything is about the civil society. Guarantee of higher education, healthcare, free press, universal value. It's about civil society. We treat you as our friends. It's a very, very important statement for myself. I am representing 736 parliamentarians of the European Union. We are elected in all European regions in direct election. So we are quite democratic body. So saying about that, I would like to give you a very important message. As friends, and as such, we raise issues which concern us, like human rights and violation, notably in the Caucasus. I know it's a delicate problem for you, for Russians, but there are violations of human rights in this territory. It's not easy. I know very well. It's not easy. But I must remind it. The unsolved murders of journalists and human rights activists. You know very well the names, Politkovskaya, others. The impunity of the secret services. These are all issues that we, as your friends, are concerned about, and as such, we need to raise. And as I said, in questions, you should raise similar problems if you have some of them from your side to the European Union. And I'm quite sure that we cannot be modern. Russia could not be modern, modernize itself and also European Union without democratic society. And I'm quite sure that you wish to be such a democratic society. I was talking and discussing this problem with your president just half an hour ago, and I'm very sorry I was late, probably 15 or 20 minutes, because our discussion, instead of 1 hour, took us almost 1.5 hours, because it was very, very interesting from my point of view. Very deep and interesting discussion. And we were just discussing the Dutch problem as well, delicate problem as well, not only easy problem. For example, energy issue, we were also discussing, and we can discuss, I can discuss it with you later. As you know, talking about such issues like human rights, that European Parliament's annual Human Rights Prize is named after Andrei Sakharov, because we know very well in your country there were and they are tremendous, fantastic human rights defenders. Russia should have the courage to imagine itself in 50 years' time and then make it happen. Everything with improving also human rights issue and involving civil society. Well, exchange of ideas, information, very important for our community. And we expect it from you, and probably you expect it from us. This is why I believe that small steps, such as the gradual establishment of a visa-free regime, is so important because it contributes to this exchange of views, common approach to many issues, and true partnership and cooperation between ordinary citizens rather than between government. Government is not everything. presidents are not everything. I even discuss in this way with your president, who is a very open person and very open mind and very strong person. I believe that. And we're talking in this way about that. So, visa-free regime is very important from this point of view. If we have any problems, we should open our borders. It's very important, but it's not easy because we should also be sure that from point of security, will be all right if we open the border. If anybody from the member states inside the European Union would like to approach a Schengen area, it means open the borders. It takes usually 5-7 years to prepare new member states to be inside Schengen zone. It means to open completely border. It's a lot of work to do from point of view of security issue. Well, let us say we are equal partners. We must treat ourselves as equal partners. And of course, as you know, I think it's a great success story, our last 60 years of Europe and European Union. Why? Because we had a lot of war in our continent and was a bigger tension between countries. Now we could overcome many problems, and we are cooperating. We are being together. So it's very important to think about our future cooperation between European Union and Russia in the same way. I am quite sure that if we start deep discussion, because we are now in new era, it was some problems quite lately. Let us remind me that difficult period at the end of my lecture. Well, tension between Russia and Georgia and war, even for a few days, but it's enough. And also some problems on energy issue, tension as well between European Union and Russia. Well, it made us on both sides slightly reluctant about the issue of cooperation. Now let us start new period, new era. We need ourselves on both sides. We wouldn't like to be isolated. You wouldn't like to be isolated. We wouldn't like to be isolated because we are at the same continent for thousands of years, and we believe, I'm quite sure of that, we believe in the same values. And European Union was built on such a simple values like freedom and solidarity and responsibility, because freedom without responsibility is not a full and strong value. Freedom, solidarity, and responsibility. And I believe between European Union and Russia is the beginning of much better period than it was lately. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now questions.
You mentioned that European Union and Russia have same problems, and among them you mentioned human rights. What, in your opinion, is the problem with human rights in European Union?
Well, it is not a long lecture. Usually at university, I stopped after 1.5 hours, but I wouldn't like to be so unpolite for you and to keep you 1.5 hours, so I was maybe not very precise. We could have sometimes very small problems, like quite lately we have between 2 or 3 member states tension on minority rights. What kind of tension it is? Well, number of pupils in the school in different language than the main language of the country is not big tension. Or how in the council, in municipality council, in which language we should develop some decisions, in 2 languages or in 1 language, the main language. So they are not very serious, but we still like to solve them. It is not comparable with problems with minorities in your country, in northern South Caucasus. We know very well that is, as a matter of fact, minority problem. Very important. And we were discussing just half an hour ago about this problem, how to start to tackle the problem. Economic issue, very important, because if it is 40% of unemployment in such a region, of course it's very difficult to go ahead with any relations between majority nation and minority nation. Another problem is problem of youth and young persons, to give them possibility of good education in 2 languages is very important as well. And, you know, it is not compatibility between our problems and your problems. I'm very honest here saying. But we have another problem. We have big problem with Eurozone today because we have problems with our currency. I'm quite sure we can solve it during next few months, not longer, but it's a problem. So I'm not saying that European Union is without problem. We were discussing half a year how to organize our external action service. European External Action Service was very difficult discussion between the institutions, European Parliament and myself. I was involved in discussion, so I'm very glad that just now, after many months of discussion, we achieved a compromise and we can go ahead with our representation. But of course, from point of view of democracy and human rights, it's very little problems. It's not very big, I can say, in the European Union, fortunately. But it was quite different in my country 30 or 40 years ago. It was quite different. In my country, there were very similar problems to your problems today, and we could change it. It was not easy, it was difficult, but we could change it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, more questions? Okay, the gentleman, yeah.
Thank you very much, Honourable President of the Parliament, for this enlightening speech. And my question actually considers a problem that you have already touched upon briefly, and that is dear to the hearts of, I believe, every student who is here at the moment. For example, me. I have recently been given the honor and accepted to a master program in Barcelona in Spain. And my journey at the moment is connected with an ordeal of collecting a lot of documents to hand in to the Spanish consulate. With this is connected, well, this is the problem of visas. And I would like to ask you, what are, under the Lisbon Treaty, under the new under the structure of the European Union, the competences of the European Parliament in handling the visa-free regime, and could students be the first to benefit from such a regime? And yet another just very small question. You spoke about a European common space. Would you envisage it in a free trade area or a customs union or a common market with Russia? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good question. I can answer very shortly. Responsibility of the European Parliament, very big one, because we must accept it. But negotiations are between European Commission and your government, as a matter of fact. We have also something like free visa regime on the small scale. For example, Kaliningrad region and Lithuania and Poland. So on small scale, we have something like that. So we have also some experience in this way. On the answer, if students should be the first group of people, I'm answering very shortly, yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your lecture. My question concerns the popularity, actually the lacking popularity of European Parliament. It is known that the turnout at the parliamentary elections to the European Parliament is very low. And what is being done to raise the interest towards this institution among the EU citizens, and how do you think why is the interest so low?
Well, you see, Madam, you are hurting me very much because you are right. You are right, so you know, it's very painful for me to say that you are absolutely right. Well, the question is, as a matter of fact, very, very simple. Why? Because, as a matter of fact, very, very simple. Why? Because, as a matter of fact, very, very simple. Why? Because, as a matter of fact, very, very simple. Why? Because, as a matter of fact, very, very simple. Why? Because, as a matter of fact, very, very simple. Why? Because, as a matter of fact, very, very simple. Why? Because You know, for every citizen in 27 member states, national parliament and national government is much closer to them than European Parliament and European Commission, which is European Parliament, European government. So they are tackling in everyday life rather with national parliament, not with European. It's very far away. And now we are just changing it step by step. After Lisbon Treaty, European Parliament is really responsible as every one parliament in democratic country. Like every parliament in democratic country, we have full responsibility for legislation, not opinion maker, but legislation in cooperation with ministers of 27 member states. So it's quite new responsibility. From this point of view, we are responsible as European Parliament for more than 60% of legislation in member states. They are national parliaments together responsible for 40% of legislation, European Parliament for 60%. So I'm quite sure in a few years it will change. About turnout, it's a great question. It's 43% turnout, very low. But do you have any doubt about American democracy? Rather not. It's a full democracy, very strong democracy. Turnout in American Congress is 37%, so we are much better. Thank you very much.
I'd like to invite to give his comment Professor Jan Zielonka.
Yeah.
Briefly.
Well, I think when I listen to your speech, I think the questions which our Russian colleagues are most interested in is, what is the benefit of integration without membership? If Russia is now negotiating closer relationship and adoptions of various regulations produced within the European Union, do we need to have the end station, or is process enough here? Is it like, you know, a benefit of living together without marriage, you know?
Well, it depends what you prefer, Mr. Professor. But, well, responding you very seriously, we have something like free trade agreement, also in such a countries like NAFTA agreement, you know, in America, North and South America. So it's opening the borders, but nothing else. Then, let's say, trade-free agreement and cooperation in economy. It is very helpful. It is much easier to cooperate on the economy only than to cooperate in many other issues. And it is also connected with some common strategies and common policies in such areas like agriculture, like regional development, like research. And from this point of view, we must have full compatibility. Negotiations between candidate countries and European Union, it's usually about 7-8 years, and preparation another 5-7 years. We can have very good examples from our last history. So together 12-14 years to be prepared for membership and to join European Union. So it's a very complicated process, but we are not closed-ended. It is also necessary to fulfill Copenhagen criteria. And one of the most important in Copenhagen criteria is human rights criteria. It is not easy. it's also not easy. It was not easy for Central Eastern European countries, like my country, or any other, Romania or Lithuania. It was not easy. We were tackling the problem 12, 14 years. So, open international community, European Union, but fulfilling all the criteria is extremely difficult. I can give you a very simple example, is Turkey. We promised Turkey membership in 1963. Can you imagine? Almost half a century ago. And they still don't fulfill very simple Copenhagen criteria, like independence of steering the army. It should be civil steering and not influencing from army to politics at all. Army should not influence politics at all. It should be cut down. Army, of course, is very important for defense, very important, but not influencing politics. We have some, well, very simple solutions for that. It is not fulfilled in Turkey. Or women's rights. In some parts of Turkey, I'm not saying about any other issues very important, some parts of Turkey, young girls, 10 years old, 12 years old, are not going to schools. Why? Because it's not a good place for women, for girls. It's a good place for boys, not for women. So it's impossible to talk about membership in such a state. So it is not easy to fulfill all the criteria. I can tell you very seriously about that. But still, economic cooperation is very important, and to open our market. 630 or 40 million people together, fantastic market. So it's still a lot of fields of our cooperation which could very strongly help all of us, not being members of the same international entity.
Questions?
As you know, not so long ago, several European country members passed laws regulating infringements of copyright in the internet and piracy in the internet. So France, United Kingdom, and I think almost Spain. So does European Union intend to draft some regulations or directives regulating this issue?
Yeah, well, we are preparing ourselves how to regulate some problems in internet, but on the other hand, it's very important to have really freedom in internet, as far as it is possible. It was some proposal for European Parliament to stop some delicate issues, but we neglect to improve that, to support it, because we would like to have a certain regulation not stopping freedom. We should cancel some ways of communicating, but not stopping the freedom, generally speaking. We had similar problems with, let's say, patents for software. And it was idea just to have patents for almost all the software we put into computer, and we stopped it as well. It was idea from European Commission. It was connected with intellectual property right, and we believe that open source in the case of software is much more important for developing free society, small and medium enterprises which are not rich enough to start with patents in software, is much more important than intellectual property rights. So civil society and developing of civil society, generally speaking, is much more important than, in this case, than intellectual property rights. But in some other case, let's say, in energy issue, new technologies, or chemical issue, could be opposite decision about intellectual property rights, but not in the case of internet and software for computers.
Questions? No, to ladies.
Yeah.
Here.
It's preference to ladies, you see, madam. It was another question on this side. Somebody asked a question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Next will be
Yeah.
there.
Dear sir, could you comment the decision of the European Court on Human Rights on Loud's case concerning the religious symbols in schools?
Well, I don't understand exactly what is. The question is connected with
the decision.
Sorry?
Yes.
Religious symbols. Sorry, I didn't understand you.
Court of Human Rights and religious.
European Court of Human Rights. Well, it is not connected with European Union as an institution. It's connected with the Council of Europe. So I could say that maybe it is not my responsibility straight away, decision of European Union in this issue is very simple. It should be decided in every member state separately. So it's decision of member state. Depends of history, tradition, depends of heritage. So you can have different solutions in many member states, and we would like to touch it because a solution which could be great and fantastic and easy in France could be not acceptable in Lithuania, or what is easy in Bulgaria maybe is not quite easy in Great Britain, in the United Kingdom. So we would like, because there's still a lot of differences, we have not common heritage, we have common values. Let's say the most important issues in our heritage are the same, but history is different. So taking into account our history or just separate member states, we must be very careful about such a regulation. So it's not common European Union approach to such issues. Okay, thank you. And
question from
next
that
question.
side.
Was somebody here? Yeah, two colleagues. Yeah, okay.
Only.
Maybe both questions, and I will ask to, well, please give me.
Dear Mr. President, I would like to dwell more on the pure...
Closer.
I would like to dwell more on the pure economic issue. I mean infrastructure. Is it possible to see some European countries on the Russian market, which are dedicated in the sphere of road construction, for example, in the near future?
Next question. I must have some time to prepare answer.
Okay. Второй вопрос, давайте.
So my question also concerns economy. Well, and actually it concerns international trade. So if you were to shape the trade between the European Union and Russia, so what would it be like? What groups of goods and services should be increased or decreased? What should be FDI flows into Russia, into European Union? And what should be the share of the European Union in Russian external trade? Thank you.
Well, talking about, I would like to answer very strongly about infrastructure. European Union is very interested to invest in infrastructure in the Russian Federation. And the opposite side, also some of your main companies are, especially in energy, they are interested to invest in the European Union. So it's very good relation because we need relations in investment on both sides. And in open market, it would be easier. But now we can say there are some restrictions for European companies on Russian markets. It is connected also with the last crisis because it was something like support for Russian companies and trade organizations as well during crisis, and some tariffs or taxes on import or also difficulties in investment from the side of European Union. So it was a kind of protectionism. We must say about that very openly. But as a matter of fact, at the beginning of crisis, we started with this in the same way in European Union. We started with something like protectionism. But after a few months, it was quite clear that it's not good way. It is bad way for everybody. Also for the country, which is proposing protectionism and protectionist solutions. So we stopped it after a few months. And now I can say is no protectionism between member states inside European Union, because it was still possible. And in many solutions would be even partly allowed, but we stopped it. And it's the same with our bilateral relations. We must stop protectionism relations. And on your side, if you could, you know, be inside of WT organization, the World Trade Organization, would be much easier, because then all the protectionist measures would be stopped automatically, because you cannot be member of WTO having any protectionism inside. Talking about, well, it is connected with infrastructure, of course, and all the investment in infrastructure, especially in energy issue. And we are ready to invest in pipelines, for example, or electricity grids, or any other investment on the Russian market. On the opposite side, probably Russia is also very interested to have some investment. We're talking about that. We can say that so-called transit protocol and European charter, European energy charter is very important for solving our problems in energy issue. But Russia didn't ratify yet this charter and protocol. So we are waiting on ratification. It is signed, but not ratified. So it means it doesn't work. And it is a big obstacle also in investing in infrastructure. If you're asking about infrastructure, energy infrastructure is very important. Goods, opening. Well, we have, as you know, four freedoms in the European Union. Goods, capital, well, people, or in labor, and services. We have also fifth freedom, it's research. And we started with exchange of research results, taking about intellectual property rights. And it's also, in the case of research, is very easy also to have such exchange with Russia. I think it's much easier than in any other case. But still, from opening borders for goods, certification is very important. Standards should be very similar. We don't have even all these same standards in the European Union. So we would like to have something like relaunching single market. We would like to relaunch once again, to start to think very deeply about single common market. So I can tell you, not everything is solved in our market. Not only between Russia and European Union, also inside European Union, not everything is perfect. Nobody is perfect, nothing is perfect, I would say. So we have a lot of things to do also inside European Union. But of course, opening borders on goods, for example, or services between Russia and European Union would be very helpful for both sides. But we must have a rule of law is one thing very important, because we must have certainty of investment, certainty of flowing of goods, and the same standards and the same certificate is very important. And we think about that very, very deeply. And our PCA, Partnership and Cooperation Agreement, is between others also about that. So we are discussing such problems as well. Step by step. It's not easy, but it's always optimistic.
We can pick up 2 more questions.
You are giving a very difficult questions. Very good, well prepared, very good. It's another.
Thank you very much for your speech.
Well, okay, okay.
The question is, what would you, what main obstacles would you point out in, for Russia in shifting to the full democratic society, hence to affect modernization, which will lead to full cooperation with the European Union? Thank you.
I was not born in Russia, so I cannot be your president in the future, because if I know answer, probably I should be your president. It's very difficult. And I was talking with your president about this issue as well. You see, it was built in every free society and free nation in the European Union as well for many decades. It is not the result of 1 year or 2 years investigations. And it's not easy to build it. Democracy is grounded on two things, very simple, but it's not simple to build them. First is institutions, and second, procedures. Because all the democracies, institutions and procedures. For example, state of law, of rule of law, you need institutions like judiciary system, completely independent, without corruption. You think that it was easy in today's member states to build it? Not very easy. How to start? From which place? You need free society, free media. Free media is of crucial importance because they are fourth power, the most important, more powerful. In our member states, media are more powerful than government, judiciary system, or parliament. Quite surely, it is sometimes even dangerous for them because they feel too powerful. There's only one person from media from the European Union together with me, so I can say it. Is my spokesperson. Where is my spokesperson? Well, here sitting, you see how powerful is the lady? Being responsible for media. So, there are a lot of things we must build to have free, open society and to produce it. Also NGOs, how to finance them. You are preparing yourself in Russia, going step by step to the new legislation or for financing NGOs. They must have some money. Where from? From taxes, but it means will be not so much in your central budget in Moscow, because some taxes will go to NGOs. Or financing from budget, central budget, but not steering by politicians which NGOs is good for myself, is saying responsible for budget, Minister of Budget. No, it must go from quite different way. And municipalities, regional and municipal reforms, you must have free election to your municipalities and well, councils and regional councils, regional governance, free, open election, not nomination from the central. A lot of things. I would like to say that you can organize it during a few years. It's a long way. And the most important is to observe if things are going in proper direction, generally speaking. We are talking about that. Why? Because we believe that free and open society, civil society, for modernization in long-term perspective is absolutely necessary. You cannot modernize country without citizens. And if you want to involve citizens, it means they must be free. Otherwise, they are not doing anything in proper way. But it's a long way. I wouldn't say that it's for half a year approach. So it's a lot of things we must arrange in many, well, you are future leaders of this country. I'm quite sure of that. I'm quite sure of that. Because you feel a lot of problems studying the global economy, global relations, because studying, if you study EU-Russia relations, it means you are studying, as a matter of fact, multi-global governance. It's not enough, Europe, for governing the world. Russia and European Union is not enough. So you must also feel the whole relations all over Europe. Without Saudi Arabia, it will be very difficult to have a lot of oil. Thanks to you, we have oil as well. But thanks to Saudi Arabia, we can also fight piracy because they help us. If we want to solve the problem of North Korea and nuclear weapon, we must start to discuss very deeply with the Chinese. Of course, they have approach to North Korea. And being just inside South and North Korea and trying to tackle the whole problem. Iran, well, Russians, if you are not supporting Afghanistan-Iran problems, piracy and nuclear weapon, it is impossible to solve the problem. So, from this point of view, I'm saying very, very honestly and openly, you are the future leaders of this country on the level of parliament, maybe regional parliaments, regional in the future, independent election in your regions. Well, but step by step. Well, nothing was produced during one decade in our complicated world. But I believe you are going in good direction.
The last question.
If you like this sentence about future leaders, I must tell you that it's also great responsibility. Great responsibility. It's not easy task, but I can say it's also great pleasure at the end. If you have any result and you can say, and you can see improvement in some social, economic solutions, and you can support it. It's a great, really, but very risky profession, I would say, generally speaking. Well, the last question, yeah?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask two questions. The first is about the custom union, which is creating between Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Russian Federation. I would like to ask what is the opinion of European Parliament concerning this union, and what is your own opinion? It's the first question. And the second one is... One question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But the second one is more specific. It concerns the influence of European Parliament on common trade policy of European Union. And we know that the competence of Parliament became larger, and this area of policy became more democratic. But will it make the development of this policy slower or not? Thank you very much.
Yes.
That was very short, thank you.
So I could manage the second question very simply. It's very true answer. And the first question, of course, cooperation between Kazakhstan, Belarus, and Russia is very important for you. Opening the border, even partly opening the border, very important. And tariffs outside the union of three countries. And as I know today, because there are negotiations between government and the European Commission, it is possible, first of all, that three countries together will join WTO, World Trade Organization. It would be the best possible solution, of course. If not, it is possibility that Russia will be earlier, because it's much better prepared. But then, some relations with Kazakhstan and Belarus should be solved in a different way in your trilateral union. and both countries, Belarus and Kazakhstan, will join later. But I believe that 3 countries should be in WTO, not only Russia. It would be best for all of us. But I know that it's difficult today. I don't think that is any big obstacle between a crucial obstacle, impossible to solve, between your union and WTO. It is possible to solve, but we would like to solve it in this year, 2010. It's a problem, because it's a problem of time, rather. As quick as possible, because in 2 or 3 years, of course, we can manage step by step, but we would like to solve it during half a year. It's our task from the European Union, because we would like to have you, Russians, as close as possible. No isolation. We have just such approach. We wouldn't like to have isolation. And I believe you feel the same. So we are talking about the most crucial problems for 500 million Europeans from European Union and about 147. How many millions do you have in your country? 147? Well, nobody knows. You must know. 147 million Europeans from Russia, because all of us, we are Europeans. Europeans from Russia and Europeans from European Union. Europeans together, and cooperation is absolutely necessary, fruitful for all of us. I believe that is our future, and thank you very much for the possibility to talk to you and to listen to your questions, because questions are always more interesting and important than answers. Thank you very much.
Okay. 1 minute to Professor Entin for his closing remarks.
Sorry.
Questions
or not?
Okay. As a very short summing up to our today's discussion, lately we witnessed a kind of renaissance in the relationship between Russia and Poland, in the relationship between Russia and the European Union. You sounded so friendly here. I think that the explanation is a friendly atmosphere at the university, of course, but this meeting goes beyond that. Here you are an ambassador of the European Union, but we would like that after a short stay here in Moscow, in the Russian Federation, you become an ambassador of the Russian Federation at the European Parliament, at the institutions of the European Union. And you promote new ideas, new approaches, new initiatives. So if you really would like to become an ambassador of the Russian Federation, there is one advice. We have been working here on the matters concerning the relationship between Russia and the European Union, basic agreements, sectoral agreements, and so on. We need a very good relationship between parliamentarians, between State Duma and the European Parliament, and we need to change the agenda of this relationship. International matters are very important. Bilateral relations are very important. But you've mentioned yourself that we need to go with the harmonization of legislation, with the harmonization of rules in accordance with which our societies, our business live. It's a task of the European Union and of the State Duma. So maybe let's unite our forces in this field. Let's create different working commissions, working groups, anything, just to put parliamentarians together and to start to work together in a preliminary way on the future legislation on the basis of which our societies could live in the 21st century. So thank you very much for coming here, and let's think for the future. And as far as the future is concerned, everybody is invited to listen to the lecture of Jan Zilonka, which will take place after a short break. So thank you very much.
So let me just say thank you to our distinguished guest and thank you to everybody.